Welcome to Better Student Ministries. My name's Mark Freeman and this is Jared Barry, and together we have over 30 years of youth ministry experience.
We're so glad you're checking out this resource. Along with every video, we'll be releasing a downloadable PDF which has a section for note-taking as well as all of our discussion questions so you and your team can wrestle through the topics that we're talking about in each video. We're hoping that this resource inspires and equips you to pursue having better student ministries. Hey everybody, welcome to Better Student Ministries. We're so glad you're with us. Today we're talking about connecting with parents. Now, connecting with parents is one of the most essential but often overlooked things in youth ministry. And Mark and I have talked about this a long time. We're excited to share some of our thoughts with you guys today. I know, Mark, you've got a great take on this, so share with us a little bit one of the ways that you were able to connect with parents in youth ministry.
One of the things that might be a good place to start has to do with having clear and effective lines of communication. So the better we inform our parents of what we're doing, why we're doing, how we're doing those different things, sets us up for success in buy-in from the parents, their willingness to participate in allowing their students to connect with us, as well as just being able to give them a heads up. I know one of the things that I noticed a lot in our youth ministry is the sooner a parent knew about an event, the more likely that student was to be able to participate in it. There can't just be one pipeline for that. There's probably lots of ways in which we need to communicate with our parents. But one of the things that resonates true is the better we are at communicating to our parents, the more responsive they'll be to whatever it is that we're doing. So whether it's an event that we're doing, whether it's something in our large group gathering, whether it's instructions related to small groups, things like that we have, the more we're able to communicate to them. I don't know that I've ever met a parent who was like, you're over communicating to us what our needs are. And so having and finding those clear lines of communication is going to be key. So for example, one of the things that we would do at the beginning of the beginning of each school year is I would put together a postcard sized magnet, which you can get from a number of different places online. And on that, I would have the main events, specifically the events that were going to cost money, because those are typically the ones they have to plan for in advance. And so our youth group retreat, our convention, things like that, I would have the dates on that magnet and I would have the prices. Now, sometimes, depending on the event, we didn't know the specific price, so I would say this is an estimated price. But an estimated price is going to give them better preparation for what an event is going to cost. So now, if it's in the midst of a birthday season or near Christmas or at the beginning of the school year, and I got to save money for new back to school stuff, they can start to plan. Parents want to be able to plan. And I reminded my students, because this was true after years of ministry, the sooner the parents knew about the event, exponentially the greater the likelihood of them being able to attend. So they'd put it right on their refrigerator, which, by the way, they all loved having a huge, strong magnet that they could put on their fridge. They saw it all the time. It was a reminder. If a student was part of the process of raising money for it, they could remind them, hey, in 2 months you've got this coming up. So you could buy this now, or you could put that money away to be able to go on that trip. And so I found they really appreciated that line of communication right up front as they plan their year.
There's nothing worse than a teenager coming to their parent the day before an event and saying, Pastor Mark said you got to give me $200 for this retreat, and they were like, what? Now they're ticked at you, they're ticked at their kid, right? So I love that idea. One of the thoughts I had as you were sharing is it's really important to have a primary mode of communication and make that mode known to your parents. And so for some of you it may be social media, for others it may be a website where you're updating for events. You're posting all the vital information. So if a parent has a retreat coming up and they want to know, well, what should I bring to the retreat? What's the schedule like? Who's the contact info or numbers for this retreat? All those kind of things. Where do they go to find that information? And I think it's really vital to know and have a primary mode of communication. You can certainly have a couple, but I think it's helpful to have, hey, this is our main one, and we have to make sure parents are aware of that. So when new parents come in, are you making them aware, hey, come to this? I know you guys use one in particular method that you found really helpful.
Yeah, we found that a significant percentage, the overwhelming majority of our parents were on Facebook already. So it was a place they were going to regularly. So that's something to keep in mind as well. if it's not someplace they're going to regularly, it may be a little inconvenient for them to get there. So for us, Facebook was a place a lot of our parents went to and checked regularly. And so we actually created a private Facebook group. So it was by invitation, specifically because we didn't want students in there. We didn't want outside people a part of that communication. One was for confidentiality sakes, because sometimes parents, we found, would share specific thoughts or specific questions related to things that their students were dealing with. But then it also allowed them a place to ask those questions that wasn't like on our main youth group pages, which sometimes is embarrassing for the student and sometimes just clutters up whatever is going on. Not that their thoughts aren't important, but if we provide a place for them to ask those questions, then it kept things really streamlined and allowed them to ask their questions, us to respond quickly. And we found, like, before retreats even, parents would say, hey, be praying for my student for this. And so not only did it create an opportunity for us to communicate, but it also created an opportunity for them to share what's going on in their life as well, and allow this network of parents and youth leaders to be able to communicate what's going on in their life. So we know we've got a retreat coming up, or small groups is happening. We're praying for the students. This is what's going on in my kid's life right now. Keep them in your prayers. And it was a lifeline that went two ways, which I thought was a really cool. Clear communication does go both ways, and so finding ways to allow that to go is really helpful. One of the things that we also agreed upon as it relates to connecting with parents is related to that idea is, how do we allow parents to speak into what's going on in our team, or how do we invite them to be a part of the team? So Jared, if you'd spend some time asking questions related to or speaking to having parents' voices as a part of our team.
Yeah, this was I think really essential to what we did in youth ministry, and I would really advocate for you to really think through, what does this look like in our youth ministry? And so the first thing I would say is, do you have parents that are on your youth team? Parents that are a part of they're the youth leader staff with you. And sometimes it can be tempting to not do this, because we think, well, parents they're not young, they're not the college student, they're not hanging out late. But I would challenge you to think differently about that. Parents bring a different perspective. They are at the phase of life of the people that you're trying to minister to. So youth ministry isn't just about the youth, it's also about helping the parents, who are the primary disciple makers. And so having parents on your staff who are thinking like other parents, who are asking the questions, and they can help you recognize and know, how are parents thinking, what's important to them, what things do I need to communicate, is really vital. And they also offer a maturity, they also offer a perspective that's really valuable. So the first thing I would say is, find parents in your church and your ministry that would work well with you and work well with their youth team, and add them to the staff, add them to your team.
And you can think kind of creatively about their involvement in the staff. Now, they may agree and they might be a good fit to be a part of your full-time volunteer youth staff. But there's also creative ways, and you can think about your team at large. And so one of the things to consider is, even if they're not going to be a part of your staff, your youth staff, can you put a team of parents together that still have the opportunity to speak into the ministry that's taking place? And so one of the things that we did is, in different seasons, it ebbed and flowed depending on the personalities of the leaders in our group. We had a team of 2 or 3 parents or more that were kind of our key parent group, almost like an assimilation group of parents that we would be able to ask questions and get feedback from. But then also, they were almost like a voice piece for us into the lives of their peers, other adult leaders as well. And so when they're echoing what's going on in the youth ministry, and they can kind of be an advocate and speak for what's going on, so they don't have to necessarily be on your staff, though if they're willing, that would be great. But it's crucial to have their input in some way as a part of your team. And you can think of team in creative ways. It's not just your staff that shows up on a Wednesday night or whenever you have your large group or a small group leader.
Some other ways, aside from what you were saying, which is great, is get feedback from parents. Send out a survey after an event, or just a general survey about asking them, how well am I communicating? What are some things we can do better? What are some things you want to know about and hear about? So get feedback. Go out to coffee with different parents and just say, hey, how can we serve you better? What are some things we're doing well? What are some things we need to work on? And I think not being afraid of getting feedback from parents will ultimately help you really succeed. And you don't have to take everything that they say, but it's really important to have them speaking in, because otherwise you can kind of do ministry in a bubble and miss some really important pieces.
Yeah, so connecting with parents is really important. You've heard my take, you've heard Jared's take. Now we want to have an opportunity to hear your take as well. So you can either comment in our comment section below, and hopefully you'll be using this video with your youth teams as well. We've got some questions that's going to follow this video to kind of facilitate some of your discussion. Thanks so much for tuning in with us.
Question 1, how effective are you at communicating with parents? Go ahead and rank yourself 1 to 5, 5 being incredibly effective, and 1 being we have a ton of work to do. Question 2, what are some creative ways that you can better communicate with the parents in your ministry? Question 3, what are some ways that you can add parent voices onto your student ministry team? Question 4, what questions are parents asking that you need to answer? And if you don't know, how are you going to find out? Hey everybody, thanks for checking out Better Student Ministries. If you've got a topic you'd love us to talk about, leave it in the comment section below. As well as like our video, subscribe, and feel free to share it with anybody that you think would benefit. You can always find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and of course, watch our videos right here on YouTube.